Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Mirror of Intimacy webinar. I'm Dr. Alexandra Katehakis, and today is Monday, December 5th. So this day seemed to mark the beginning of the holidays coming up quickly. I hope you're all well and staying well, given the cold and flu season and all of the excitement and activity that's surrounding this Christmas, because it almost feels like the first Christmas everybody is out trying to have a post-pandemic Christmas. I also want to highlight that our topic today is stress, which I think is apropos of the holiday season and the kind of things that we do deal with during this time of year. I also want to remind you, as always, before we get started, to type your questions into the Q&A box, and that way I can answer them as we go along. And also, if you can, leave us a book review at Amazon.com for Mirror of Intimacy about what you like about the book, how the book has helped you, maybe clever ways in which you thought about it, and certainly to think about it as a gift this Christmas to people you think would benefit from it. And then let us know if you're watching on YouTube. Don't forget to click the blue subscribe button below so you can never miss a post. And you can also keep up with what we're doing by following me on Instagram at Alex Katehakis or at Center for Healthy Sex. So that's our general business. You'll see in the chat box also that if you have any questions, you can certainly call into one of our intake counselors who are standing by right now to answer questions you might have about sex, love, sexual health, resources that you might need in your neighborhood or area. And we're happy to help you at 310-843-9902, really any day of the week, not just today. So our quote today is from Lily Tomlin. She says, "For fast acting relief, try slowing down." And that sounds like such a Lily Tomlin quote, doesn't it? Sort of short, simple, a little bit quirky. But for fast acting relief, just try slowing down. Try to see if you can rush or hurry rather without rushing. Hurry without feeling like you're going to mow somebody down or trip over something and hurt your own self. We live in a culture right now that seems to be pressuring us increasingly, telling us what we have to do to look better, drive a better, cooler car, make more money, smell better, acquire a bigger house. All of these pressures that we feel living in our consumer culture are always bearing down on us. And it's interesting to me also that as young people and young people even now, we'll talk about how they don't want to buy into what their parents did, or they want to have a different or alternative life. And yet as time goes on, we get co-opted into what we know. We replicate the families that we know, the things that we know, the lifestyle that we know, the quality of life that we know. And with that can come incredible stress to perform, to produce, to make more money. And so slowing down, as Lily Tomlin says, being intentional, asking yourself questions about what kind of life do I want to have? And if I take that particular thing on, is it going to create more stress or less stress? So an easy example I can give you is many years ago, I think I was in my 20s, I wanted to get a cat. And so I adopted a cat, and I had no idea that adopting a cat was at that time going to cost me $100 because it was free, right? Somebody was giving cats away. I went and I saw all these cute little kittens, and I looked at the litter and I picked out the cat I wanted, but I didn't know that these cats were riddled with fleas. So I had to take it straight to the vet where they had to make sure it didn't have worms and get it shots and blah, blah, blah. And before I knew it, I'd spent $100 that I really didn't have. And so getting the pet, well, I wanted the pet because I thought it was going to reduce stress and make me feel like I had, comfort in my apartment, ended up being quite stressful. So we don't stop and ask ourselves, what is it actually going to take to get that new thing? What are all the processes I have to go through? And what effect is that going to have on me? Because we get advertised that we should get a new car. And that sounds fun and great. And let's go get a new car. But what it takes to buy a car, to register a car, to get insurance on a car, I mean, it can take all the joy out of it. So think about this holiday season, especially. Are you making conscious choices about what you want to do, and how much stress are you willing to take on? And this can be as simple as, do I want to get a real Christmas tree or a fake Christmas tree? Something I've been debating. A real Christmas tree means you have to go out, bring the tree in, get the stand from the garage, set it up, all the work that goes into just setting it up before you decorate it. And then there are environmental concerns, and then taking it down and disposing of it, and make sure that you're putting it in a place where it will be picked up for trash, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all that work that goes into putting a tree up that's not so magical. It's magical when it's up. Or if you buy one, then you've got to store it, right? You've got to go buy it. You're spending more money. You've got to store it. It's another thing to possess. If you decide to get rid of it, it's landfill. So there are all these considerations in every single thing we do. So I am inviting you this Christmas holiday season to consider, how much stress do I want to take on? What things do I want to say yes to? How much money do I want to spend? And how am I going to manage the constant bombardment of images and messages that urge us towards consuming more, buying more, and even towards self-improvement at this time of year also. There are lots of catalogs that come about beautiful table settings. And I have to wonder, like, how many sets of Christmas dishes can people actually have? Because new ones come out every year. So it's natural that we want to have all these things and have a beautiful holiday season, but we can also, deceive ourselves into thinking, well, the stress is out there somewhere, as opposed to, I'm actually creating the stress by the amount of invitations I'm saying yes to, and about the amount of things I'm consuming. And this can even happen in a supermarket where there are all these beautiful cakes and cookies now. And it's thinking like, oh, I'm just going to eat one or get one or have one small thing. And before you know it, you've spent the entire month of December eating lots of sugar and carbs that you might normally not eat. So the stressors are not necessarily out there. They have to do with the choices that we're making internally. And so this might be a good time to just free associate, as we're talking here today, about what are the things you want to say yes to and what are the things you want to say no to, and just jot those things down. Do you really need anything more than what you already have if you're a Christmas collector? If you're just starting out with your Christmas or holiday collections, can you buy one new ornament or one new candle or one new thing this year to help you build on that collection if that has meaning to you? And think about what you can recycle, and also what can you get from the people in your life that are older, that are happy to hand things down, that they actually don't need as much as they have. And they're really, really grateful to share those things with you too. So it's worth contacting parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and asking if they have an extra, whatever it is you might be looking for. And that can make it more special because it's in your family and it's something that's being passed down. So don't let the stressors out there bear down on you. You get to decide how much you want to say yes to and how much you want to say no to. And that includes invitations as well. Just because somebody invites you to do something doesn't mean you have to say yes to them. And I would also recommend that you space those invitations out so you don't look at your calendar and all of a sudden, 4 nights in a row, you're going to some holiday gathering, which ends you up being exhausted on the weekend and then susceptible to the colds that are going around right now. So these external pressures can derail many of us, and they really get their foothold when we start to feel pressure internally. We feel like something's being done to us, or, there's that question always about, have you started your holiday shopping? And it's like, I don't know, have I? And do I have to? And have I even had a conversation with the people in my life about what we're doing for holidays in terms of gathering? And are we exchanging gifts or aren't we exchanging gifts? And what are the fun traditions that you have in your family that you might want to start sharing with your friends as well, so that they can start to build on their own traditions too? There's a very fun article in the Atlantic Monthly, I think just last week, about quirky holiday traditions that various families shared in this article. And some of them are really quite wacky and fun and wonderful. One of them that I especially loved is called Throwing Grandpa Away. And there was a time when this particular family, if I get this right, at the end of Christmas Day, there would be so much paper, wrapping, ribbons, things like that, that they would put it all in a trash can, and then Grandpa would get in the trash can and stamp it down so they could put more cardboard and paper into the trash can. And so they called this putting Grandpa in the trash. And as Grandpa got older, the trash can turned into a cardboard box, so he wouldn't hurt himself, obviously. But now for generations, this family has carried on this tradition of the eldest male getting in the trash can and dealing with all of the paper products from Christmas Day. And I thought that was a sweet and fun and funny thing. So think about your own traditions, things that make you laugh, things that help with the reduction of stress during this time. And look at what pressures you put on yourself, and when you ask for help and when you don't ask for help. And can you talk to your partner at this time about what kind of holiday you want to have? Do you want to have people around? Do you want to go to people's homes or gatherings or parties? How do you feel about public parties with this cold and flu and COVID season running the way it is right now? How do you design a holiday that is something that can be as stress-free and fun for you as possible? And it's also a way to have an intimate conversation with your partner, so that you are talking about how you're going to deal with each person's family members, problematic family members, so that you get on top of this on the front end, not when you're actually driving to the event. And often, if it weren't for our own expectations, our own comparison to what other people are doing, our own fears, about what other people think, we would actually stay pretty calm. And so think about that too, that are you staying centered with what's true for you and how you want to do your holiday? Or are you busy comparing yourself to what magazines and televisions and blogs and media are telling you about how it should look? So where do you find your serenity this holiday season? Sometimes it comes from just knowing that there's nothing more that you can do, that you really have done your best, that you are going to proceed with what you have and not worry about it looking perfect. Sometimes the greatest, sweetest environments at the holidays are those that feel cozy and well worn and not so picture perfect. And that might mean that you're recycling candles that have already been burned, or you're using old candlesticks and not going out and buying fancy new ones, that you are recycling things from your grandmother or your great grandmother or your mother, and making a patchwork of a holiday that feels right for you. So just know that you've done your best and that you can be imperfect during this holiday season, and that that's a natural part of life. So take the pressure off of yourself. And interestingly, for those of us that are older, when we've done these things enough time, they end up being seamless and they look sort of perfect, even though they're not agonized over. So let yourself just be yourself without apologies about how you're going to unfold this holiday season, and really each and every day. So can you get relief from these pressures? And, for people that struggle with sex and love addiction, they end up sexualizing these pressures. They sexualize their stress, which, sounds like it could be a good idea, but it can turn sour and bad, especially in a relationship, if you're doing it out of a lack of intentionality. So be mindful of that with your partner too, that if you're having sex with each other because you're stressed out, then at least know that and name it, because your partner might feel used or disconnected from you if that's what's going on, if you're not in conversation about all of it. So I'm curious if there are any questions at this juncture. Please type your questions into the Q&A box. Thoughts, comments, or anything you think might be helpful or useful about this conversation about stress, and particularly stress for the holidays. So just because, if you're single and you see somebody you're attracted to or sexually turned on to, that doesn't mean you have to sexualize those feelings also. You can enjoy those feelings, but you don't necessarily have to act on them. And that can seem simple enough, but oftentimes those moments, what's underneath them are real anxiety. And those can fuel feelings of wanting to lunge at sex and sexuality. It's not actually really attraction, or it might be a blink of an attraction because physically they are arousing to you, but you have to remind yourself that you don't really know that person. So if you sexualize somebody and it's about anxiety and you just want to have sex for sex sake, you may want to stop and think about that and ask yourself if that's the wisest choice for you right now, or if that's an old habit that you just kind of want to watch and notice and move on. And people can get triggered in all sorts of ways just by even looking at somebody, where you're encountering with a person who's got your ideal body type. And that might trigger stress in you. So you find yourself sexualizing a neutral sexual situation or social situation because you're objectifying that person out of stress. Or you see somebody, you go to a party and you think you look pretty great and you're feeling good about yourself. And then you see someone who you think just looks spectacular. And then you start to devolve into feeling less than or anxious about your appearance. And that is a real self-esteem slip in that moment also. So being able to hold on to yourself in the face of all these triggers is really what I'm pointing to. So someone writes, perfectionism shows up during this holiday season. After betrayal, there may be a desire to prove worth by holiday performance. It's a self-esteem injury from the betrayal. And that's a really, very tender thing to reveal. So thank you for stating that. And is there a way, and this is such a razor sharp paradox that I'm about to suggest, that you can make the holidays perfect for you because they make you feel better because they restore your dignity in some ways, and they're an outward expression of your desire, your beauty, your spirit, as opposed to I've got to be perfect, I'm going to perform so that you'll love me more, or so you'll see me a certain way. So it really it's sort of flip sides of the same coin, but one is empowering for you, that this is my home and my space, and this is what I want the holidays to look like because they make me feel good. They make me feel festive and alive and maybe even vital. I wouldn't maybe go as far as saying sexy, but certainly vital. There's a vitality state in that. It's not because I'm trying to get you to want me more than you want me or impress you. So see if you can play around with that energy a little bit. And Allison writes, Christmas will be at my daughter's new place with my other children joining. I'm super stressed about my sex addict husband also being there. I want to ask him not to come. We're in therapeutic separation. I'm struggling with guilt and putting my needs first. Any thoughts or suggestion? Well, yes. Is it possible that you could split the time, Allison? Is it possible that you can go for part of the day and he can go for part of the day so that you don't have to spend time with him if you don't want to see him right now? And what can you do that other half of the day? Can you arrange a Christmas maybe afternoon tea with girlfriends at your house, or invite yourself to somebody else's family in the afternoon, maybe after they've had their Christmas meal, or find a way to go to part 2 of the day and decide which part of the day you want to spend with your family. Maybe it's with the children opening gifts in the morning and having breakfast or brunch, and maybe you being the person who makes the brunch that morning, and really enjoying in them. And then you leave and your husband comes in the late afternoon while you go do something else that's equally nourishing for you. Someone says, thank you for this validation. I've been in a decluttering mood. Yay. And not wanting to decorate for the holidays too much. I'm trying to get stuff out of my space and not into my space. I've also been turning down social invitations, and all of this feels really good and so much less stressful. Hallelujah. I think that's what happened for me during COVID, because when we were on lockdown, there was no point in getting a tree. I felt like I was decorating it for myself, which I love doing, but instead I started taking out things like a red tablecloth, like super low impact thing, which I've already done this year also. I changed some pillowcases on my sofa that are bright red velvet, and we get some flowers. I got some simple white mums and red carnations this weekend and put them in my kitchen, and they're just lovely. And so these little things can feel festive without getting monumental and cluttering. And if you don't have children, this obligation to the tree really has to go. Unless you're having a big party or something like that. But there are little trees out there now also, and poinsettias are great, easy ways to make yourself feel good. So I love that you have this decluttered, open spaced, really clean sort of holiday feeling in your space. And I think all of us can take clues and cues from that. And someone writes, my husband is a sex addict and I'm a betrayed partner. This is the first year that my adult children from a first marriage know that my husband's addiction and my decision to stay and work on the marriage with him, or know of this decision. They're also aware that a lot of psychological and emotional abuse has occurred within the marriage due to the addiction. They don't think I should stay and have distanced themselves from us and me because of it, which is making me feel very sad about the holidays approaching. I want to be able to enjoy the holidays with my children, but I don't know how. It's just so tense right now, and they will not be around my husband. So this is unfortunate that they have chosen to be really so judgmental. And the judgment, I believe, is out of a concern for you and a desire to protect you. And so all you can do at this time is tell them that this is a decision that you've made and that you owe it to yourself and to your relationship to do everything you can to see if this is right for you or not. And that if they want to support you in a loving way, they will suspend their judgments of your husband for now. And they will suspend their judgments of you for making this choice to stay, because it's your marriage and your relationship. And if they can be open-hearted this holiday season, because that's what it's about, right? And welcome the two of you into their house for Christmas dinner or whatever part of Christmas you want to do with them, that would mean a lot to you. That would be a display of their care for you, and that you know that they're scared for you and they feel protective, but this would actually make you feel more cared for by them. And are they willing to do that? And if they can set their judgments aside and be kind and in the holiday spirit, then you should plan on going for an hour or two, but you shouldn't stay the whole day. That's a lot to ask. And then you should likewise figure out what you want to do on Christmas Day with your partner, and how you want to make it a festive day for yourselves. And let's see, Andrea says, several years ago, I found out my husband had an affair. We went through the repair process over 2 years. During that time, he was highly stressed and he wanted to have sex all the time. As we've gotten back to normal, his desire for sex has gone down in proportion to his stress. This is why this webinar caught my eye. I feel like stress is probably how he got himself in trouble in the first place. Any advice? Well, yes, that is sort of the point of this particular topic, and I have expanded it to include the holidays, but it's a cautionary tale of noticing how much stress triggers your desire to be sexual, and how much of it are you discharging energy as opposed to talking about what is so stressful. So as your husband's stress has gone down, he's not driving all of that energy or sexualizing all of that energy, that stress, that anxiety. And so does he talk about his stress currently? And does he talk about sex now and what sex is like without stress being the engine of it, with anxiety driving it? Does he come together with you sexually now out of a desire for you, not out of being stressed out and wanting to discharge energy? So my only advice would be that the two of you have conversations about this that are constructive, that help you find your way towards a nicer sexual experience with each other. And if you're both sex stressed from this stressed from the holidays, and you're having holiday sex stress or holiday sex that's driven by stress, that's okay too, as long as you're talking about all of it. So that seems like it's warranting a conversation between the two of you, and certainly for him to talk about with a fair witness, a sponsor or a therapist. And Andy says, I've been caught a little off guard by pain this holiday season. I'm 2 years into recovery from spousal betrayal, honestly, my own addiction, empty nesting, and the death of my mother. Wow, that is a lot of loss. I'm offering myself kindness, but I'm sad because in years past, this was one of my favorite times of year. Is it good to expect these feelings to fade over time? Yes, they will fade over time, but whenever we have these early first, second years of the first year of being alone, being divorced, children growing up and going away, the death of a parent, all of these things make the holidays bittersweet because we have memories. And I read an article about this also, about how these holidays change as we age. Because we have memories of our childhood, of times when Christmas was really fun and good, and there was a big clan of kids around and adults, and big meals were presented. It was a bit like being at Hogwarts because we didn't have to cook, plan, do the heavy lifting. We might have had responsibilities and chores, but we weren't the ones putting the big Christmas Day party on, let alone getting the Christmas presents from Santa Claus. And it's only later in life do we realize our parents were young people and they were working full-time jobs and hiding and wrapping gifts at night and planning, turkey dinners, and how much work it was for them. But as we become the elders, as we move into those spaces and we start to be empty nesters, we're back to having Christmas alone or with our partner, which is one other person. And so we have to make meaning of these holidays time and time again, just in the way that I talk about how we have to redefine our sex and sexuality from decade to decade. We have to redefine these holidays also so that they're less stressful for us. And that includes feeling lonely. Being lonely is stressful. Having too much to do is stressful. Having too many demands is stressful, having not enough to do. So what are the ways, and I can share with you some things I've been doing. I have a little tree in my backyard that yields clementine oranges at this time of year, and it makes a blast of these oranges in December, and then they're gone come January 1st, because between me harvesting them and the squirrels going after them, there aren't many left. And so the other day I collected a bunch of them and put a big bowl of them on my kitchen table, because it feels like Christmas for me when I see oranges, and the oranges from this yard feel like a gift from Mother Nature to me. So that's one little thing. The way I was talking about before, the changing of colors in my house to reflect back the holiday season. Saying yes to invitations for meeting with girlfriends for tea or coffee. I think for males it's different, but saying yes to invitations for gatherings, maybe finding a male friend and going for a hike, or doing something that's physically exhilarating to you where you're really using your body, like hiking or climbing or something like that, depending on where you live, can feel invigorating. And what I was saying earlier is that we want to feel these vitality states. For some people, it's listening to Christmas carols. One of the people in the Atlantic talked about how They like to rate the 5 top worst Christmas carols every year that they hear. So whether you love them or hate them, engaging with Christmas carols can be a fun way to highlight the holidays. Going to a ugly sweater party, trying to find an ugly sweater. Apparently they're really hard to find now because all the thrift shops have been completely scavenged for those parties. So I think what I'm saying to you, Andy, is that you can let yourself feel sad, feel the sadness, and make that a part of the holiday tapestry for you. And go get yourself a little tree, decorate it, listen to Christmas carols, or whatever the things are that have historically made this one of your favorite times of years, so that you're not just falling into a place of being sad, or worse yet, just a victim stance where poor me and I'm home alone. Make your space festive. Find ways to get out of isolation and be with other people, and get yourself some invitations, and take your sadness with you, make it portable, and let it be a bittersweet experience. So that was a really lovely question. Thank you, because I think a lot of people struggle with that and feel that way. So remember that we all have distinctive relational deficits and deficiencies. And when they're triggered, they can become sexualized. And that happens, it releases dopamine, serotonin, it makes us feel good, it covers up the stress. But these are only momentary, kind of cheap fixes for long-term experiences. And when, like Andy, we can make friends with our sadness, we can make our pain portable, like some of the women that we're talking about that have been betrayed, and say, okay, this too shall pass, and this is what this is going to look like this year. It won't be like this every year. Every Christmas has been so different for me, whether I stay home, who I'm around, or whether I travel. One year, my husband and I decided we wanted to get out of town, and we didn't want to celebrate Christmas at all. So we went to Vietnam. And the hilarity of that was, when we got there, is that Christmas was everywhere. The cab drivers were wearing Santa Claus hats. The babies were all dressed up like Santa Claus. They played Christmas carols. There were Christmas lights everywhere. And we were confounded by this. But during what we call the Vietnam War, what they call the American War, the American GIs imported Christmas. So they even have pictures of snow falling. And of course, it's quite warm there in December. They have idealized American Christmas. So we just had to laugh about that, because we went to the other side of the world to get away from Christmas, and there it was. So you never know how it's going to show up or what form it's going to take. But it's important that what I'm offering is that you take control of it, and that you make it your own, in whatever iteration you want to see it, so that it's meaningful for you, and that it gives you some comfort and a little bit of joy at this time of year, and that you're not just sexualizing your stress. So that can just bring more stress also, honestly. If you end up having sex with the wrong person, or sex when you don't really want to, it just leaves you feeling kind of icky. So we don't want it to be haphazard. We want our sexuality and our choices this year to spring from intentionality, right? So that our relationships and our Christmas iterations are emerging from a combination of things, because we can't really escape our history and our culture and where we come from and how we do it from our families. But we're also adding and cultivating new things into it that have meaning to us too. So one of the things I haven't talked about, which is surprising, is how much food can play a part in our Christmas festivities. One favorite recipe that you have, whether it's baking a certain kind of pie or making a certain kind of soup. Here in Southern California, one of my favorite things at Christmas are the tamales that the Latino culture provides us, as such a festive thing to have on Christmas or Christmas Day, and really easy because you can get them pre-made. But I know in a lot of Latino families, the families get together and they make the masa and they make the tamales. And I think that's a beautiful tradition. So think about different foods that you can share with your friends, that bring back Christmas for you also. Heidi says grief work oftentimes can't be predicted. It's true. My son recently saw my ex-husband who's a sex addict, and for some reason I'm having my own trigger to it, even though I know I don't want a relationship with him and I'm 5 years into my own recovery. And I even predicted he would find somebody quickly, but grief still hit. I'm just trying to not fight it and lean in and ask myself, what's underneath all of it? Any coaching or suggestions? Well, this is such a painful thing. And I think it's especially painful for women. This feeling of, I've made a choice, I don't want to be with that person. And even though I know he's going to replace me quickly, it still hurts so deeply that that happens, because these things really assault the attachment system in our brain and physical nervous system, in our autonomic nervous system. And it feels like a physical assault. It's not just a psychological one. These are long-standing attachment patterns. And it's like having a limb cut off and you have phantom limb syndrome, Heidi. You know, you can't get that limb back. You're not going to. And in this case, you chose to not even want it, but it still hurts when you hear about that person, because there is a longing that comes up, and also a feeling that's tied to our own self-worth, that I wasn't lovable, or I wasn't chosen by this person, or they gave me up for someone else. And that really hits our own early injuries. And so all we can do is use the tools of recovery to state affirmations, to remind ourselves that even though this is painful, I made the right decision for myself. And all I can do is look forward in today, and also ask myself about my own loneliness, or have I been avoiding getting in relationship with somebody new because I'm still stuck in some ways in my grief and in my loss. And so you do have to allow the grief to be there. It's true, we never know when it's going to hit. But what can we do that's not self-destructive to make ourselves feel better about that? And maybe for you, it's splurging on going and having a massage, or finding something in your closet that you love that makes you feel beautiful during the holidays, or buying something new without overbuying. So just engage in all the self-care that you know to engage in. And again, just know that this is a bittersweet wound that you have, and it's just a part of who you are. And then it will go away, especially when you find somebody that you do want to be with, that can cherish you, that's tender with your heart, that won't violate you. That's when this repair will be more complete. So remember to cultivate your holidays, your stress level, how you want your holiday to look, and your sexuality consciously. Don't let all of this just become a junkyard for you to dispose your stress in, or your clutter in. As somebody was talking about decluttering, get rid of stuff, make it fresh, clean up your space, let some air and light into it. One of the things I saw this week that I love also at this time of year, are all the colorful bulbs that are out there that you can actually do yourself. You can just get a little glass container and put an amaryllis bulb with some water in it, and before you know it, you've got a bright red or white beautiful flower in the midst of winter, lightening up your space. So don't junk it up, clean it up on all levels, so that you can, have a healthy holiday, and a holiday that you want to have without overeating or overspending, or seeing toxic people that you don't want to see. And also notice when you have sexual or romantic feelings at this time of year, try to trace whether they're stemming from stress or the kind of grief that Heidi was just talking about, and just honor it, that's all. And just say, yeah, that's what that is. And take an inventory of your recent sexual experiences to find out whether you're relieving stress or if it's a motivating factor. And is it mindful? Are you mutually present during sex? Is this agreed upon celebration for you with whomever your partner is, for a place of vitality and connection? And make sure that you're doing it intentionally also. So take all of this with you. I hope that you can breathe some air into this holiday season based on this conversation, and make it a happy holiday for you. And don't collapse into sadness or loss, or feeling like you've been left behind or that you're less than. It's just not true. Find ways to make your space feel abundant and beautiful and stress free. And I invite you to have a happy holiday this season, and share these little tips with people also, because we all suffer from these feelings of whatever it is, loneliness or loss of family. And by sharing it with your friends or calling a friend and inviting them to go do something, you're counteracting this and you're also playing it forward. So I wish you all a very happy holiday season and a happy new year. And I look forward to talking to you in January when we start this year all over again. And thank you, especially from the bottom of my heart, for all your support this year and all the really great, rich conversations we've had about Mirror of Intimacy. And I look forward to continuing that with you in 2023.